As much as I love the Fire Emblem series, I missed out on Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, a 3DS remake of Fire Emblem Gaiden. Fire Emblem Echoes came out in 2017. What else was happening in 2017? Well, how about Nier Automata, Gravity Rush 2, Yakuza 0, Yakuza Kiwami, Zero Escape Nonary Games, Persona 5, Okami HD, and Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And those were only just the new games I was interested in playing that year. 2017 had a lot of insanely good games come out that I wanted to play at the time, and Fire Emblem Echoes being a 3DS release with the Switch being out made me lose interest in picking it up. It also doesn't help that a couple years prior to Echoes was Fire Emblem Fates, which wasn't the best entry in the series, and that probably made my interest in the series drop a bit at the time. So as much as I love Fire Emblem, I just never really had the chance to play through Fire Emblem Echoes. But as time passed, I wanted to rectify that mistake I made of not playing it and seeing what this game had in store. Thank you to my supporters. If you like the video, consider subscribing, or even joining the Patreon, link on screen and in the description. If you do, you'll be thanked in the videos, be able to watch each video a week early, as well as gain access to bonus videos. The story starts when our protagonist Alm is a kid in his home village. Alm, being based as fuck, sees his first redhead and eventually decides that he will literally kill and go to war for Celica, our other protagonist. But that'll be when they're older. For now they're enjoying life, playing in fields and getting sentenced to death from knights. Ah shit, it's a tutorial mission. Because most of the cast is literal fucking useless children weighed down by the piss in their pants, you've gotta have them run and fucking hide from the actual knights trying to chop their heads off. Luckily, Alm's grandfather is pretty cracked and takes them all single-handedly. Get no dift, bitch. Celica ends up having to leave, time skips 7 years to them being young adults, and Alm is like, I'm going to war now, sure hope I get some redhead pussy, and asks his friend to help him out with a little bit of war against those evil northerners and their dragon Satan cult. So now it's the start of Act 1 proper. You've got Alm, Lucas, the guy who came and asked for your help in the war, and your group of bitch-ass villager friends who look like they can barely swing their damn swords. There's a lot that is mechanically different with Fire Emblem Echoes compared to most other Fire Emblem games. You know the weapon triangle? That shit that Fire Emblem is synonymous with? Get that shit out of here. This ain't no fucking geometry class. Same goes for weapon durability. None of that here too. You got a smaller inventory. You can only carry one item at a time, and the environment matters a fuck ton here. Placing a unit in the forest can help in the other games, sure, but it doesn't give plus 40 avoidance like it does here. Shit's insane. There are other changes that show up in the game, but these are the first changes you'll notice in these first couple of maps. Speaking of the maps in this first act do a pretty good job at easing you into the gameplay. They tend to be short and snappy, lasting only a couple of minutes each. They're also relatively easy and don't have any major gimmicks. Enemies usually go down in 1 to 2 hits, so you can feed your bitch-ass villagers some experience and make them a little less trash. A couple of maps in, you're introduced to some dungeon crawling. If you've ever crawled through a dungeon in another game, or ever fought your way through a crack den, kind of a similar experience. It's a rundown shithole, the locals are aggro on sight, and it's a great place to pick up women. Wait, never mind. Sorry girl, but that hair just ain't my wavelength. Third-person dungeon crawling? In my Fire Emblem? Shit dog, I'm game. The dungeons in this game are areas that range from a couple of rooms where you fight a couple of small encounters up to, oh fuck this, why the hell is there another goddamn floor? And asks you to interact with the game a bit differently. For one thing, you can only bring 10 units in at a time, which for the beginning of the game isn't a problem, but later on you'll have to start being choosy. Rather than focusing on grand strategies and tough maps, you're instead asked to deal with a handful of dudes at a time in relatively simple maps. Just kinda squares for the most part. Dungeons are rather a test of endurance. The actual encounters are simple themselves, and you heal in between them, but your fatigue doesn't heal. Do enough fights, and your units will get tired, which kills your stats. That is, until you feed them a raw flower, or some grass you found on the ground, then they're feeling great. At the end of this first dungeon, you get 3 main things. The first being the aforementioned woman, Silk, who is your healer. Damn, cleric model's got some curves on him. You also find your first Mila statue. These statues are the only places where you're able to promote your units. Hey, sick of bitch-ass villagers? Turn them into something a bit more useful. Now something like that would probably cause a panic attack to someone new to Fire Emblem because they're being presented with a lot of decisions to customize their party. But honestly, so long as you don't have all the same units, you really can't go wrong. They also all get outclassed later with 1 or 2 exceptions, but that's besides the point. Hey, you want some advice? Give Faye the Pegasus because that shit is good, and make Cliff a mage for endgame fuckery. Everyone else is kinda mid, so don't think too hard about it. And the last thing you get is Mila's turn wheel. The turn wheel is this game's plot convenience to give you a method to make mistakes and turn back time a little bit. Welcome to the true man's world. You can ignore it if you're Iron Manning it, or use it to your heart's content. As Act 1 goes on, it gets slightly more challenging and gives you some more units to round out and strengthen your party. Hell yeah, second Pegasus Knight! But overall, I thought that Act 1, as a tutorial act, was pretty good. It eases you into the basics of the game's systems and mechanics and keeps it brief to get you into the good shit that has yet to come. Protagonist switch. Now we're rocking Celica for this act rather than Alm, and I've gotta say, Celica's starting class is way better. Melee and magic? Fuck yeah! Not just a different protagonist, but a different party altogether, this time being heavily magic-centric. Magic is pretty different in this compared to other games. To begin with, magic is insanely strong and usually the right answer in most scenarios. Hey, you wanna kill some dude a couple tiles away? Not a problem. Can you not hit that guy because the tile he's on is giving him too much avoidance? Well, magic doesn't give a shit and negates tile avoidance bonuses. Magic can deal some insane damage and can one-shot some real tough enemies and can do so from up close or at range. But it'd be too busted if it didn't come with drawbacks. The first is that stronger magic attacks weigh a lot, resulting in decimating your speed, so you normally can't double with your magically infused tactical nuke and you might be doubled instead. And the other drawback is that it costs the HP to cast any magic. Well, except for Nosferatu, but that's the exception, not the rule. Using magic can chip you, or if you're casting stronger magic spells, can deal like 12 damage to yourself. It may be strong, but you've gotta be careful if you're going to have the health of your already squishy mage. Now, I really like Celica's party composition way more than Alm's. For one thing, I really like the magic system in this game. Risk-reward systems hits the dopamine just right, so my favorite units tend to be the magic units in this game. But also, Celica's party is designed to be their class. With Alm's party, you get the option to customize, which, while a cool option, often results in your party feeling weaker than everyone else you get later. So often I felt that Tobin and Gray were mediocre units because they just weren't as effective compared to Claire, Matilda, or Dalthea. But in Celica's party, because a unit like May is designed to be a mage to begin with, she continues to be a good fucking mage throughout the entire game. And now we get to Act 2's maps. Act 2 is pirate themed. You fight pirates on boats. That shit sounds cool until you realize that it is map after map after map after fucking map of choke point designs. Are the enemies coming at you? Just put your highest defense unit on the one tile bridge and stand your ground. I've got no issues with the occasional choke points, but when it's an entire act of them, that shit stops being fun by the end of it. Especially since you get Valbar in this act, a nigh unkillable unit that just solves every choke point in the act after you get him. How unkillable is Valbar? There's an optional map in this act that has just one enemy on it, a Necro Dragon. This Necro Dragon is scary because it can easily party wipe you no problem. That is, if Valbar didn't have near perfect stats to solo this fucking winged rat. So long as you get Valbar on this healing tile, that bitch can't be killed. Even better, he has just enough attack to do 1 damage per turn. So then comes the next 37 turns of chipping out this dragon and ending turn. It's kind of funny how exploitable this map is. But yeah, Act 2 kind of sucks and becomes real tedious. You get some great units for Celica's party, but they really don't get the chance to shine yet. Luckily though, Act 2 is the only act that I feel this negatively about the map design. Act 3 is the chef's fucking kiss. Pseudo-nonlinear, 2 separate and different feeling parties, fun fucking maps, and absolutely cum-worthy structure. Acts 1 and 2 were just a tutorial. This is the real game now. At this point you should know how to play so the game stops pulling its punches and starts offering up some more challenging and longer maps now. Maps that can sometimes get pretty conjure happy. So get this, there could be a unit, likely heavily guarded, that every 2 to 3 turns can summon up to an additional 8 enemies that can fly. There were times where I looked at a map during the battle preparation screen and just thought to myself, how the fuck do I even go about this? But then I had a lot of fun trying to improvise a solution. Because they'll often throw a bunch of flying enemies at you, these maps force you to really take into consideration your positioning a lot more, which I liked. On the other hand, it did slow down the pacing of the maps because you have to be careful trying to approach the summoner to not get slaughtered, so I would also get if someone didn't enjoy the summoner enemy types. Want to make these maps less of a bitch? Make sure to train Leon on Celica's party. He gets the anti-flyer skill, but more importantly, absurd range that can reach these summoners. The Mila Temple map, for example, is a massive fuck you because the summoner is just out of range of all your magic users. But Leon can still reach him. Man, shout out to Leon for being an actually gay character in Fire Emblem and not just a protagonist sexual character. Like, he has his own life outside of the protagonist, and his crush on Valbar is pretty sweet, and I really enjoyed seeing his character arc through the game. But back to Mila Temple. That map, even with a good archer, is still a bitch of a map. I died on it even. The reason I died was because I wasn't careful with Celica's placement and the enemy mages ran a train on her. When other units die, you can just turn wheel back and they're all good. But when Celica or Alm dies, it's an instant game over. Even if you've still got turn wheel charges left, you're not allowed to use them. It's silly that on the normal difficulty, which is what I played on, that if your Lord character gets killed, it's instant game over. I'd understand if it was like that on higher difficulties, but bro, why am I being told get fucked on normal? The maps are overall way better and a lot more fun in Act 3. I like that Alm's maps tended to be more open and asking you to split your party. While you could turtle and clump together, which definitely works, that's boring to do. Spreading yourself thin and trying to fight on multiple fronts is way more engaging. It's a fucking strategy game. Why would I not want to interact with some strategy? One of my favorite of Alm's maps was the one against Desai. You just got Luthier, who is a mage that is designed to kill Desai, because Desai has piss poor resistance and Luthier has some good magic attack to him. The problem actually comes with figuring out how to get Luthier close to Desai safely when he surrounded himself with a bunch of dudes. Even worse, you're also time pressured because archers are attempting, but also failing, to pelt Matilda with arrows, and you want to make sure she's kept alive because she's an amazing unit. Act 3 is straight fucking peak. Also, piece of advice, make sure you immediately go back to town with Celica and recruit Paula and Katria. I didn't realize you could recruit them before getting asked, and I missed out on some Pegasisters for most of the act. Act 4 is more of Act 3, but harder, with more of a how the fuck do I solve this map feeling. Going into Celica's first map, I thought, what the fuck is this shit? You've got a poison swamp, two conjurers, and dread fighters as a cherry on top. It made me laugh seeing this map for the first time, seeing the game be like, I like this shit, huh? And remember Necro Dragons from Act 2? The thing that took 37 turns to kill? They're regular enemies now. Though this is a good way to see how much stronger and capable your party is because they're now able to take on a couple Necro Dragons and be fine. But then there's gimmicks introduced in Act 4 like the fucking upheaval bullshit. Alright, picture this map. You've got dread fighters, mages with a death spell, tanky as fuck tanks, and an asshole conjuring gargoyles. Already seems challenging. Okay, but what if every couple of turns, some guy deals anywhere from 8 to 18 damage to everyone? That map is insane. But whereas the maps give you that how the fuck feeling, you're always capable of doing it and are given the tools to even allow yourself to come up with some funny strategies. Wow, these corridors seem rough to send units through. What if I just warped into the hallways with the enemies and trivialized this map? Wow, Rudolph is surrounded by really tough men, how could I get close to kill them off? Why get close? Just put a mage ring on and send some thunder-flavored ICBMs. Now I'll just take the map at my own pace and not have to put anyone in harm's way if I don't want to. While it feels like you gain more brain cells as you play through and take on the game's challenges, man does Celica lose brain cells in this act. She's all like, yeah sure, selling my soul to Dragon Sage sounds like a good deal, like a dumb bitch. Up to this point the writing has been pretty good.
I'll rip that traitorous tongue from your throat! Then you'll finally have the truth in your grasp.
But then Act 4 kinda shits that bed when Celica's all like, I'll go along with whatever this clearly evil purple fuck says. Act 4, in the end, is just more of Act 3. Harder, and with some more gimmicks, sure. Damn is it good as hell to play. Genuinely, some of the most fun I've had playing Fire Emblem were in these 2 acts. So, Fernand is dying in Clive's arms, and I've got like 4 healers on the team just standing around not doing shit. The amount of times my own units have been stabbed and shit and got patched up and are fine, but this guy gets stabbed once and just dies? I guess no one liked him enough to do anything to help. Act 5 is a pretty short one. You've got one long dungeon and a big final map, which I was really looking forward to. As Act 4 was nearing its end, I was hoping to get at least one map where the 2 parties merge, and I was pumped to actually get just that. I would have liked to have gotten some overlapping conversations between the 2 parties and see how they'd interact. Like, why couldn't I get a conversation between Celica and Mycen, or one between Delthea and May as the 2 mage girls, or shit like that? It's fine, but it would have been nice to see that. Also, a lot of units lose the utility quickly in this map because it calls for tanky as hell, high damage units, and not everyone is that, but you get enough of them to make it through this map. I'm sad that I missed out on this game when it first came out years ago, but I'm glad that I eventually got around to it. While I'm not cracked at these games, I still really like the Fire Emblem series. They're number 2 on my favorite Nintendo franchises, right behind Xenoblade, so it is kinda weird in retrospect that I didn't jump at this game when it came out. Pulling back the curtain a little bit, if I make a video on a game that isn't new and I haven't played it before, it's because I want an excuse to get around to playing it. And I'm really glad I got around to it, because this was some of the most fun I've had with Fire Emblem.
Hey, thanks. Alright, I'll handle this.